Story 1. The number of people with no understanding of history or recent events is baffling. Ukraine disarmed a stockpile of over 1,700 nuclear weapons after the Cold War in exchange for security guarantees from the United States, the United Kingdom, France, China, and Russia. These security guarantees are to 1. Respect the independence and sovereignty of Ukraine and its existing borders. Reaffirm their obligation to refrain from the threat or use of force against Ukraine's territorial integrity or political independence. Refrain from economic coercion designed to subordinate Ukraine's exercise of its inherent rights to their own interests, thereby securing advantages of any kind. Under Putin, Russia has abandoned this agreement and has been desperate to reclaim old Soviet territory. Ukraine was invaded by Russia. As a weapon of war, Russia has raped, pillaged, and slaughtered people en masse, just as the Nazis did in Poland in 1939. Just like in 1939, it will not stop in Ukraine. Putin wants more. Supporting Ukraine is not a charitable gift. All signatory nations of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons have an obligation to fulfill their side of the agreement. We are repeating the same events again and again. How many people need to die this time so we can end this fascism? Story 2. Before Trump was elected, the narrative I heard from conservatives was that he would pressure Russia and both parties to negotiate for peace. So why, supporters of Trump, does he only seem concerned with bullying the nation that is being attacked? Story 3. I feel overwhelmed. This country is facing serious challenges at an alarming rate, and we're just going about our daily routines. I am disgusted, furious, and tired. Story 4. He intends for Zelensky to die. He wants the minerals deal, but he wants it with Putin in charge and Zelensky gone. That's why he sabotaged the negotiations. His camp specifically told Zelensky not to bring up any discussions about securities and protection during the negotiations. Once Zelensky brought it up, that was when they both turned on him. Story 5. It's insane to me that the United States feels entitled to any massive payment in minerals or similar resources. They helped pressure Ukraine into the nuclear disarmament deal with the guarantee that they would ensure its sovereignty, with the president at the time supposedly being significantly influential in those talks, alongside a number of countries still trying to support them. Now that it's time to guarantee its sovereignty, they are being pressured again. Payment was made in the form of over 1,700 nuclear-armed weapons being given up by Ukraine. This war would have been vastly different had Ukraine still had access to those weapons. Story 6. Trump's suspension of aid is unconstitutional. Appropriations bills are laws passed by Congress. A president does not have the legal authority to disregard them. However, since laws do not enforce themselves, if the congressional Republicans, who control both houses, allow him to do this, he may be able to proceed. Story 7. I knew the support for Ukraine would end before Donald Trump took over, so that's not a surprise. I am surprised that Trump has damaged the relationships with so many allies. It's pretty clear now he is working in favor of Russia, and only 3 months in, we are heading directly toward World War III. Story 8. Trump is a Russian asset. No one in this country is surprised that he is betraying Ukraine. Story 9. This is the end of America in the eyes of the world. We are revealed to be the bad guys. Everything will become more expensive as America's influence diminishes, leading to a loss of our privileged position in the world's shipping arrangements. Story 10. I am disgusted, but not surprised. Trump cannot stand that outside of America everyone has condemned the behavior of Trump and Vance. Trump's narcissism demands that anyone who has ever stood up to him be forced to grovel to resume any form of interaction. Look at RFK Jr. being forced to hold up a Big Mac as a relatively harmless example. I hope Zelensky refuses to grovel. Europe, the United Kingdom, and Australia need to step up to help Ukraine. Maybe Australia can use the balance of payments for the AUKUS submarines to do that. I am certain it does not matter how much we pay America for them. We are never going to see those submarines. Story 11. The United States has broken a treaty again. Read the Budapest Memorandum on Security Assurances. Story 12. Next, he starts telling his supporters that we need to commit our troops to help Putin win against Europe. Story 13. Why aren't Americans doing anything outside of getting angry on the internet? People should get out there and protest. Storm the Capitol if necessary, just like the supporters of the former president did 4 years ago. Many are doing the bare minimum and it's disappointing. Wake up because the government has abandoned democracy. America has become a land of inactivity. Story 14. I am ashamed to be an American right now, as we have Russian supporters in the White House. However, I hope this means that the European Union will take action that the United States will not. Story 15. Ukraine will be absorbed into Russia, and Taiwan will be taken over by China. There may be initial pushback from the United States, but a prolonged conflict with declining commitment from the United States will result in Taiwan coming under Chinese control. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines will notice the United States' reluctance to defend its allies and will move toward China to avoid unfavorable economic consequences. This will accelerate international relations toward a tripolar power system similar to that which preceded the first two world wars. Story 16. What do you expect from someone who is clearly a wannabe dictator and has more in common with Russia and Vladimir Putin? This is just another piece in the puzzle of the United States' isolationist policies and the move towards becoming a strictly enforced fundamentalist Christian country. The irony is that Donald Trump isn't even religious. He is simply a populist working for his own benefit. Story 17. I am on non-speaking terms with my in-laws and my own parents. It is heartbreaking to see the lack of empathy on full display in this country. Story 18. This was expected, and Europe will step in to the best of their ability, but it won't be immediate. The war will continue, and the type of support provided will shift to more modern and capable weapons. This is truly a European war now. Story 19. I made peace with this on election night. It was inevitable. I was upset about it then, but I'm over it now. I just hope Ukraine's nuclear weapons program is as advanced as the rumors suggest. Right now, I am grieving for Zelensky. He is deceased. Russia struggles with assassinating world leaders, but we excel at it. Story 20. I want Trump to suffer a stroke and spend his remaining days in discomfort while listening to us laugh at him. Story 21. Next, the United States will denuclearize and allow Russia to keep its nuclear weapons, thanks to master deal maker Trump. Story 22. I am furious. Vance is unacceptable and Trump, just forget that guy, Vladimir Putin's little helper. To those who support him, are you so willing to throw our standing in the world away? Putin and Xi are your allies? What happened to you? You are not acting in the best interest of America. You vote against your own self-interest. Why? For the lies you are fed? For racism? Ukraine is fighting for all of Europe, and dollar for dollar, it's the best investment we can make while Russia is being confined and losing. But you would have us make deals with murderers and thieves. I hate what we have become. Glory to Ukraine. Story 23. Reminder. Make America Great Again and Trump have now actively voted and participated in the Russian vision. Reach out to your neighbors and encourage people to take action. Story 24. If he was going to be isolationist, he wouldn't have sent $4 billion to Israel under emergency provisions. No, it's because the President of the United States answers to Vladimir Putin, and America is no longer part of the free world. This undermines everything our ancestors fought and died for and is a disgrace. Story 25. He is a coward, a power-hungry coward. He will give Vladimir whatever he wants. Trump is just appeasing Putin. The fact that conservatives are defending this is disgraceful. Story 26. This is unacceptable. Trump does not care about the American people. He is a traitor and should be impeached for treason immediately. This is not acceptable for the United States or the world. Story 27. Reddit has a terms of service, but the bigger deterrent for me posting my full thoughts is the list that Kash Patel is almost certainly making of internet people who say mean things about his leader. I am probably already on it, but I will play it safe anyway. Story 28. Aside from the ethical and political considerations, I want everyone to remember that this is blatantly illegal. Congress allocated these funds. It is not within Trump's power to cut them off without Congress's involvement. This is dictatorship. Story 29. This is a total capitulation to Vladimir Putin. We all know what happens when you capitulate to an aggressor. They come back for more. Donald Trump is putting us on a path to global conflict. China has certainly noted this weakness and will likely attack Taiwan. Great job, Donald and JD. Story 30. Hillary Clinton was right. He is Putin's puppet. Putin got him into office and Trump is serving his master. Story 31. Wait, serious question. If Congress passed a budget or any legislation to include aid to Ukraine, is it not therefore allocated and established as a law? Does an executive order not override a law? Story 32. I expect the European Union and the United Kingdom to help Ukraine complete the task. I also expect the European Union and the United Kingdom to benefit from a weakened Russia. The European Union and the United Kingdom no longer have to contend with the Russia of 2021, and because they understand the stakes, will provide what is necessary to compel Russia to negotiate on their terms. I anticipate the United States will descend into political chaos as Congress comes to terms with the reality of having elected an unhinged individual as president. Story 33. He is once again doing the very thing that led to his first impeachment. He belongs in a cell, not in the Oval Office. Story 34. Not sure about the global political machinations that will result, but it is clear that the Republican Party is now the pro-Putin party. Story 35. As expected, Ukraine has three possible paths. 1. Achieve a peace deal with security guarantees. Achieve a peace deal without security guarantees, after which Russia may invade again once it recovers from losses. This could lead to Russia invading Moldova as well, resulting in a potential World War III. Fight to the death, although I doubt they can win if the United States withdraws support. This scenario could result in a glorious demise for Ukraine, leading to a victory for Russia and a potential World War III. Story 36. He also demanded that sanctions against Russia be lifted and that all offensive cyber attacks against Russia cease. The United States and Russia are officially each other's closest allies. Story 37. Ukraine is facing significant challenges, and our actions have not supported them effectively. We have not been reliable partners to our NATO allies, and this reflects poorly on us. We are at risk of becoming a corrupt system of governance. Additionally, we are currently facing economic difficulties, which will lead to a decline in our overall prosperity. Story 38. He promised he could end the war. I knew that was a lie. I honestly feel nothing because everything he has said has been a lie for years. I feel sorry for people who do not realize he is a con artist. Story 39. The United States has proven itself an unreliable ally. Their contracts, oaths, and treaties hold little significance because no one in its governance can both want and be able to stop the personal vendettas of a senile individual they call a president. Story 40. Ukraine will face starvation and harsh conditions, as the aid is not solely for weapons. Russia will overpower Ukraine as the supplies and support diminish. Zelensky may perish in captivity, and the United States may no longer be a trusted or powerful nation. Additionally, China might invade Taiwan soon. This country has allowed Trump to surrender its position as a leader of the free world. The United States is struggling. Story 41. Either Trump starts another conflict elsewhere or he backtracks and continues to send weapons to Ukraine. Failing to do so would upset American defense contractors. Story 42. Everything everywhere is going to get worse. Trump is following Putin's lead and is harming America financially and morally, causing the country to be divided. This will also damage relationships with allies and defense organizations. China will find it easier than ever to pursue Taiwan. Russia will not relent on Ukraine, and the United States appears to be preparing to confront Canada and Greenland. The situation around the world is dire. Story 43. American companies and manufacturers were making a significant amount of money from that aid. That is what these individuals do not understand. We were not shipping pallets of cash over there. That money was being used to pay for the equipment that we were selling to them. We are harming ourselves as well. Story 44. I feel terrible about it and fear there will be a Soviet Union version 2.0 that will try to take over large parts of Europe. China will invade Taiwan soon. Expect a global economic recession or depression with the end of the trade system. Story 45. I believe it is very disappointing both in general and specifically. Story 46. I am embarrassed for my country. America has maintained a position of leadership and stewardship in the world. At times, we have not deserved this, but it is a responsibility we should strive to be worthy of. At this moment, we have stooped so low in the eyes of the world, abandoning any pretense of principle or moral standing. Story 47. Security guarantees from China and Russia for giving up nuclear weapons were laughable, but the United States? Shameful. What else will the United States walk away from? It is disappointing that you can't fully count on your allies. Countries will learn from this and pursue their own paths. Story 48. I believe the United States is involved in military operations against Ukraine. There seems to be a deal between the United States and Russia to divide the country. Story 49. The real surprise in all this is the capitulation of Congress and any real conservative leadership. It's almost as if they didn't have any conservative principles to begin with, so MAGA just became the easy option. Story 50. I'm increasingly convinced that Trump is setting the stage for Russia to take over America. He is severing ties with our allies and alienating everyone. Story 51. I feel embarrassed and ashamed as an American. Everyone who voted for Donald Trump now has blood on their hands. If they had a conscience, it would bother them, but we've all learned in recent years that some politicians are deeply flawed. We have now abandoned one ally and are in the process of alienating ourselves from the rest. Innocent lives will be lost. Prices here in the United States are about to skyrocket. The wealthy will become richer while the poor become poorer. August can't come soon enough. I'll be so happy to be out of this difficult situation. I encourage anyone who is fed up to consider leaving. Those who are capable anyway. Let those who are invested stay. It's just dirt. Anyone with a fraction of a brain cell knows how serious this is. Story 52. I hope that Ukraine has been working for the last 3 years to rebuild its nuclear capabilities. That is the only way they can win this war. Story 53. Trump is disregarding treaties and committing serious offenses, and nothing will happen to him except this will be added to the list of unbelievable actions he has taken. Until Republicans take a stand and push back against him, the only consequences Trump will ever face are those he encounters in the afterlife. Story 54. America's problems do not just lie in the betrayal of allies and loss of trust, nor in the cost of tariffs that will disrupt the economy and trigger inflation. The real issue is the leaking of intelligence to Russia, a portion of which is included in the documents returned to Trump's home. What closely guarded weapons capabilities and defense plans will Russia gain free access to? Putin may be pleased that Ukraine's defense will weaken, but he is even more satisfied to gain leverage over his strongest enemy. This situation is unprecedented. It is a significant moment in history, and not in a positive way. I am concerned that it will take considerable effort to reverse some of what is occurring, with lasting implications for the future. Story 55. Not surprising. He aims to harm as many people as possible. I feel heartbroken for Ukraine, but more people stand with them than with him. They will win this situation. Story 56. Trump is an immature and ignorant individual. He would let the world suffer to retaliate against anyone he is angry with. The rest of the world outside of the Trump-Putin alliance will take action. The rest of us are the leaders of the free world now. Story 57. Europe will move aggressively to support Ukraine, knowing their own borders are under threat. They will dissolve the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and found a new organization that the United States is not a part of, which will include Ukraine. Vladimir Putin will respond by attacking a city in Poland, likely with missiles. There will be a European coalition formally declaring war against Russia. The United States will not be involved at all and will be deep into a recession by the time this happens. They will not be able or willing to provide meaningful support for either side, although rhetorically they will officially be part of Russia's coalition. Russia will lose and Putin will face severe consequences, leading to a new world order of European dominance against China. The United States will diminish to the second tier of world powers, likely becoming a rogue nuclear threat that the rest of the world needs to contain. Story 58. Europe will step in to fill the gap. The leaders there have not been compromised by Putin like ours. Story 59. The United States is composed at the highest level. There is no rational explanation for Trump's behavior regarding this. Evidence suggests he may be a Russian asset of some sort. Well done, USA. Story 60. I feel like the only positive aspect of this situation is if the United States starts supporting Russia militarily by providing them with equipment and funding for the war. In just 3 months in power, this individual has managed to damage the economy significantly and disrupt every alliance and friendship the United States had with democratic countries, while forming relationships with various despotic regimes. It is remarkable how severe the situation has become. However, there are only 2 pronouns now, so I suppose those who supported this must be pleased. Cholesterol, do your thing. Come on. Story 61. Well, since we now have relations with Russia, it will be fine if Russia continues its aggression westward. Right? Story 62. Trump, along with the entire Republican Party, works for Russia. Their goals are to make Russia the most powerful country in the world and to invade surrounding nations to restore the glory of the Soviet era. Their talking points and objectives are aligned with those of Russia. Their hero is Vladimir Putin, a strongman. The propaganda they disseminate comes directly from Russia. None of this surprises me. It just disgusts me to see my country bend the knee and sell out so completely. Having grown up in the 1980s, I remember when we pretended the United States was a strong, independent nation fighting for democracy and freedoms worldwide. We lost the Cold War because we surrendered. Story 63. I yearn for eternal sleep. I feel guilty for waking an American at this point. I believe the world will continue to turn, and we will be forced to participate. Story 64. Trump is a coward, siding with a dictator while hoping to benefit from authoritarian rule, changing us into an Americanized version of Russia. Finally, those capitalist individuals will pay for their crimes. Story 65. I donated $200 to a Ukrainian donation fund, and I verified it was legitimate. It's not much, and I wish I could do more, but I can't. Story 66. He is not going to receive his mineral rights, so expect to hear more about the annexation between Greenland and Canada. He overplayed his hand, and the European Union can now become stronger. Story 67. If he announces that the military aid is going to Russia instead of Ukraine, I won't be surprised. Story 68. The United States lent money under contract for Ukraine to repay the funds borrowed from them. However, the United States did not fulfill this commitment. I believe former President Trump is trying to secure billions in natural assets from Ukraine as a means of repayment. As American citizens, we often remain unaware of the complexities that occur behind closed doors. Russia poses a significant threat to Ukraine's stability without a resolution. Story 69. Ukraine may be better off negotiating directly with Russia. This way, they would not have to cede their mineral wealth to the United States. Although the deal may not be favorable, it seems they have more to lose by going through the United States. Story 70. Ukraine will agree to being extorted. Russia will retain all land taken. Ukraine will have to apologize for Russia's invasion. Back to business as usual. More atrocities in Palestine and illegal hunting in Mexico. Story 71. I believe Europe will begin to take this war seriously and increase support to compensate for the reduction in aid from the United States. Story 72. I feel for the Ukrainians, roughly half of America and most of Europe. I believe the European Union will attempt to fill the void left by America. I also think this may lead to a global conflict that news outlets and many countries will be too afraid to label as World War III. Story 73. I believe it is unfortunate, but one of the reasons people dislike Americans is that they often interfere in matters that do not concern them. Story 74. Hopefully, Europe was prepared for this and is ready to increase support for Ukraine. In the long term, American guarantees mean little. Our reputation is likely permanently tarnished. I also anticipate that no other country will give up nuclear weapons like Ukraine did in the future. Story 75. I feel ashamed to be an American once again. All I can hope for is that Europe and Canada increase their contributions together to make up for the shortfall, and that Ukraine remains strong. I oppose authoritarianism and reject anyone who believes that invading a free country and causing the deaths of tens of thousands of its people is acceptable. I also oppose Donald Trump and his supporters most of all. Story 76. He was impeached for this during his first term. We will impeach him for it again. The ineffective Republicans probably won't vote him out, but that is what the Constitution allows us to do. Story 77. Another unfortunate move by an insecure individual. There was only one brave and strong person in that room the other day, and he was the one who had no cards and no suit. Story 78. This situation is troubling. Europe has enjoyed peace since 1945, and we may jeopardize that for the sake of someone's ego. It is disappointing, and it makes me ashamed to be an American. Story 79. The Republican Party members who, just a few weeks ago, were discussing the importance of supporting Ukraine, will continue to lack resolve. Story 80. I believe Trump is a Russian asset. Everyone anticipated this because we know he is under Putin's influence. The argument presented was likely a staged reason to withdraw aid. This outcome was predictable. The moment Trump won, I suspected this would occur. Frankly, I am surprised it took this long. Story 81. This is not what the American people asked of our president. He has not shown an ounce of interest in what is best for the United States or its citizens. He is clearly no longer acting on our behalf. When will people realize they have been misled? The illusion is gone. He is no longer even trying to make it appear that he cares. Wake up, America. Things are about to get serious. Story 82. Soon, Putin will control a significant portion of Ukraine through a surrender deal, as only the United States can provide the military equipment and security guarantees necessary for a genuine peace treaty. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization will be significantly weakened as the United States withdraws, raising the risk of a potential global conflict. Sanctions against Russia will be lifted, and the United States will not respond to actions such as cyber attacks, sabotage of internet infrastructure, or military maneuvers. Russia will return to claim the remaining parts of Ukraine in a few years, with the United States assisting them under the pretext of rare earth mineral agreements. Europe is left to fend for itself. Story 83. The orange individual was looking for any reason to withdraw support from Ukraine. I wish he and Vance could be arrested, convicted, and imprisoned for treasonous acts. Story 84. So everyone will have nuclear weapons. Europe might be looking for new alliances which could include India, but just to spite Trump, why not include China? I'm in Europe. It's not cool at all. Story 85. Europe will take action while the United States continues its decline into authoritarianism. The United States may provide aid to Russia, depending on the situation in Ukraine. Story 86. I believe a large portion of the electorate is either misinformed or holds extreme views, or both, which could lead to the election of someone who undermines democratic values and drives the country towards a troubling future. I have never been so ashamed of my nation. I dislike the way it feels. I served my country in uniform, and I believe those who have sacrificed for it deserve much better than what these individuals have shown. A president who supports violence against law enforcement, who aligns with extremist ideologies, who sides with a dictator against democratic principles. This disregard for our values is unacceptable. Story 87. I know conservatives read this and will try to justify it, but their justification will always be for the good of Russia. Story 88. I'm shocked that the generation that grew up during the Cold War and praised Ronald Reagan at every opportunity is now supporting Russia at every turn. Story 89. I already thought he was loyal to Putin. So, I'm not surprised. He just confirmed my thoughts. Story 90. America is a puppet state of the new Soviet Union. I do not understand how traditional Republicans in America can look themselves in the mirror. 90% of United States senators grew up during the Cold War with the Soviet Union, and now this is what they support. Story 91. Europe will step up and fill the void. America will lose standing and power. Weapons contracts will go to European companies, resulting in more American jobs and dollars lost. Trump will have a meltdown because he is no longer in control or important in this equation. If you are unlikable, others will not want to engage with you. They will simply make new friends. Story 92. It is blatantly unconstitutional because Congress has the power of the purse. I miss the days when that type of action would lead to the president's impeachment. I hope that the courts tell Trump to back off, but I can see it being pushed through by reluctant Republicans in Congress. I think they are genuinely afraid to oppose Trump because he will send his supporters after them. Story 93. A month has passed, and he has already turned us against all our allies while siding with Russia. America faces significant challenges, and recovery seems unlikely in my lifetime. Republicans support this because they mistakenly believe that funding will now benefit us. Story 94. Well, he said in the meeting with Zelensky that he would continue sending aid. It's just another classic Trump lie. Story 95. Good, now the rest of the world can cover the expenses. I saw that $2 billion was donated to them, but they are a couple of $100 billion short. Story 96. It is illegal because Congress approved the funds. He should be impeached and removed. He was impeached for the same reason last time. However, nothing will happen. We all need to march on Washington. Story 97. I am starting to hate being right so much. I think the European Union is going to step up a bit, but not as much as needed. I also believe the former United States, soon to be known as the nation of Trumpex, will start handing over the best weapons technology we have to Russia. They probably already have the blueprints. I feel terrible for the people of Ukraine. They absolutely do not deserve this. I am very worried about the future of the people of the United States. Story 98. He is a misguided individual who lacks understanding of foreign affairs and is merely following orders from the Kremlin. Story 99. It enrages me to think that we knew he was a Russian asset from the beginning of his first term. The investigation recommended not taking any action, not because the former president is innocent, but because he holds the office. Everyone decided to shrug and forget about the insurrection. Then we had 4 years to hold this traitor accountable, and we did nothing. We could have pursued him for a few financial crimes, convicted him of multiple felonies, and then had the judge say, "Good luck, enjoy being president." Our justice system is failing. This country is irreparably broken, and only radical action can fix it. We need to address our internal issues. Trust in us will be hard to regain after this. The former president has effectively halted scientific research in this country, and by alienating our allies, we risk losing ground to China. I believe countries will start moving away from the US dollar soon. The former president has already threatened them with high tariffs if they do so. Once this trend begins, he will likely resort to bullying the rest of the world, which will collectively reject him, leading to a possible crash of the dollar. We may see a serious economic meltdown, facing massive debt and isolation, with no one willing to trade with us. The billionaires who have benefited from this situation will simply relocate to another country or retreat to their bunkers. All of this turmoil is due to one selfish, harmful individual. Among the countless billions of people who have existed, there is none I detest more than the former president. I can only hope that when he faces his end, it is on camera so I can witness it repeatedly. Story 100. We made a significant mistake. We barely spent any money and severely impacted Russia. There is clear evidence that he is being funded by Russia for our downfall, which is appalling. Story 101. I expect that Trump will likely lift sanctions on Russia and initiate trade with the country. I also anticipate that his supporters will behave like obedient followers and celebrate enthusiastically. Story 102. Even if Zelensky had shined their shoes for 20 minutes, Trump was still going to pull the funding. It was a publicity stunt, and Axis 2.0 continues. Story 103. What a disgrace. A useless individual who prefers to bully his way through life. I would love to know what his children think about all he is doing. Story 104. Many European societies will suffer because they are now required to allocate more funds to their military, resulting in reduced financial resources for healthcare and social services. Story 105. Europe and the rest of the free world will form an independent alliance. This will include most of the British Commonwealth. Scandinavia will become more united and demonstrate its wealth. The Middle East may eventually decline, depending on the strategy of the United States. The United States may likely enter a soft civil war if it is not already in one that could escalate. That is my prediction. It is difficult to determine if the United States will be able to focus on foreign issues as it begins to slide into domestic uprisings. Story 106. It's not surprising. He has been closely aligned with Putin for years, and everyone is aware of it. Story 107. I am surprised they are destroying our alliances as quickly as they are. It feels like they know it is extremely unpopular and are trying to push it through. Story 108. Honestly, it's kind of strange. 42% of all aid given to Ukraine was from the United States. It seems that every other day there's a news article about how weak and ineffective Russia's army is, how they are using North Korean troops and equipment from World War II, and how President Zelensky needs more funding. Before the invasion and President Zelensky's leadership, Britain and Germany refused to pursue a trade agreement due to corruption. The leader who was ousted was found guilty of embezzling aid money. I'm sure all the corruption has disappeared, and now there is no corruption at all. Everyone looks back and says that the Iraq War was a mistake, trillions of dollars wasted with no clear exit strategy. People also say the Vietnam War was a mistake, but somehow there is still a strong desire for war in this context. Now, the same people who say those past conflicts were mistakes are supporting the war in Ukraine. It's quite odd. Story 109. I just want this war to end. One of my terms would be a return to the status quo antebellum, either pre-14 or pre-22. Story 110. Trump has ties to Russia. This is not new. He has business connections there, and they likely have compromising material on him. Ukraine will do their best with increased aid from other countries. They may struggle or they may face collapse. Story 111. Trump is currently the biggest bully on earth, joining forces with the second largest bully, and both will take over Ukraine and divide the resources. Which country will be next? Story 112. Anyone who is aware knows this was coming. Everything Trump has done is supportive of Russia. He has been praising Putin since before his first term. Unless you are ignoring the obvious, it is clear he is aligned with Putin. I am frustrated with the situation and the impact it has on America. I hope Europe takes strong action today. Story 113. The individuals will continue to cede power to the Russians and the Chinese. It turns out they prefer the communists more than Americans. Story 114. When are Americans going to take action? Where are the protests? You talk a lot about your Constitution, and yet here is a critical moment, and you are all sitting around doing nothing but talking online. Story 115. This election really highlighted to me the echo chamber that Reddit is. No Republicans are on Reddit. You can't ask this question and get an answer from them because any comments from that side are at the bottom of the pile, while anti-American sentiments are the only things that get upvoted. Story 116. I feel anger. Trump is diminishing America's strength and standing in the world while rehabilitating mass murderer and terrorist Vladimir Putin. He has tried to humiliate and weaken a great hero and freedom fighter, Volodymyr Zelensky. What I believe will happen now is highly uncertain. I hope this isn't the start of World War III. Story 117. Russia defeated the United States without firing a shot. We lost to Russia, and that is all it signifies. We surrendered when we did not have to engage in battle. We have alienated our allies, and supporters of Trump are celebrating. This is who they are. Spineless individuals who would abandon democracy to provoke those who are superior to them in every measurable trait. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.